should like to give you the word now for starting your contribution. Please.
Thank you. I'll share my presentation now. Good evening, all. I represent the Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science, a university which was established over 50 years ago in a green and serene campus on the outskirts of the city of Chennai, which has a population of around 12 million, located in the southern part of India. In this university, we have over 8,000 students enrolled in the undergraduate, master's, and research programs in the faculties of engineering technology, law, and liberal arts and sciences, which comprise of different schools and departments. Today, I'm going to talk about the resources and incentives for young researchers in Hindustan. So the fundamental question, why is research important in institutions of higher education? The primary thing is that the quality of the teaching program will be improved if the teacher is a researcher of the highest quality, and he or she will be in a position to communicate to the students the latest developments in the field and give a constant update to the latest findings. This research can also prove to be a basis for undergraduate and graduate research. And it is also an incubator for the development of new knowledge. As we all know, universities should be more than degree awarding institutions. So every university aspires to be among the top ranked universities in their own country or in the world. This will automatically attract research funding and better quality students. The ranking is done by independent agencies, both international and national, based on certain criteria. In India, we have the governmental ranking agencies, which are called the National Board of Accreditation, the NBA, the National Institutional Ranking Framework, NIRF, and the National Accreditation Agency, NAC. The ranking will be higher if the university can project a very high amount of money received as funded projects, consultancy work. It also depends on the number of quality publications and citations by the faculty, which is reflected in the H index. Researchers, as far as the young researchers are concerned, the entry-level faculty position in a university is the assistant professor. He or she will normally have a PhD, and the job will involve a combination of research and teaching, and a little bit of departmental administration. In this university, we provide a little bit of training for those who come with no teaching experience, and initially, these faculty are given a lesser amount of teaching load relatively. And in very special cases, depending on the research or merit, a seed grant is given to the faculty to kickstart their research. In addition to the above incentives, we have incentives for bringing in funded projects and consultancy works, which is generally given as a percentage of the amount that is brought in. And there is another incentive for publications of good quality, which with a very high citation. And we also provide a certain amount of internal funding for research proposals, which is submitted by young faculty and also some of the experienced faculty who will be acting as mentors. We also provide certain amount of financial support to the faculty to attend selected conferences where the publications generally get indexed in Scopus, Scopus index. We also provide opportunities to carry out research work with our partner universities. We have entered into memorandum of understandings with many universities in other countries. So these researchers are given opportunities to interact with faculty from that university in their area of research and carry out some joint research work. And master students are encouraged to publish their work with a special credit if applicable. And very bright UG students are mentored to carry out research work and which can lead on to a publication. Finally, research groups or research forums are formed in each department under a particular research area with a particular senior faculty as a team leader. He will have about 2 or 3 junior faculty with him, and the graduate students and the postdocs and the master students and the UG students will comprise the rest of the members. This, we believe, will facilitate good interaction and exchange of ideas and foster an atmosphere of cooperative and fruitful collaboration, resulting in good quality research and publication, ultimately benefiting the university and the society. These are some of the measures we have taken in Hindustan for encouraging young researchers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Menon. Yeah, I think it was very interesting, especially as concerns your attitude to the combination of teaching and research. I think this has been for many years has been the basis of university, the fundamental basis to combine research and teaching. This is one of the Humboldt's ideals, as you probably know. Yeah, I think it is a very good idea, and I think this should be also our ideal situation in future. Because only if you have the research-based teaching, you can guarantee high quality of teaching and the best education for our young people. So thank you very much for your contribution. And so yeah, the goal is to discuss after the 3 contributions. Yeah, so I should like to step forward to the next contribution, which will be given by Professor Muneer. He's the Vice President, Administration and Finance and Acting Dean of Graduate Studies and Research of Ahlia University. Please, Professor Muneer.
Can you see my presentation?
We could, and then it disappeared. Do you want to try sharing it again?
Okay, I'm doing it again now. Is that okay?
Yes, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sonia, and the organizers for your lovely organization. Thank you very much for the professor for the introduction and for my colleague who came, at the first presentation. Actually, I'll try my best to, to squeeze the presentation and the ideas in 10 minutes. Hopefully, I can take, a few more minutes, but I really thought of using or thinking of a topic which really touchy, which is coming under the the main umbrella of what you have suggested, and just I put tips for an advancement of early career researchers. And in this presentation, I'll take you to some of the Ahlia experience as well as international experience. So it's both of Ahlia as well as worldwide experience in terms of research. At the first slide, I would like really to introduce our country, which is Bahrain, and Ahlia located there in Bahrain, Kingdom of Bahrain, in the GCC, Gulf area. And the population is around 1.3. The private universities, we have 14 private universities as well as 3 public universities. All of these universities, public as well as private universities, are really under HEC regulations, which are Higher Education Council, and they have to also meet the quality assurance measures. So this is, in general. About Ahlia University, established in 2001 as a first private university in Bahrain. And as I said, it is highly compliant with HEC. Ahlia University is top in quality assurance since its inception. And also the university has partnership with several universities regionally and internationally, like George Washington in USA and so on. The university currently has five colleges which are there, as well as deanships who support the colleges, and 2 deanships, and one of deanship is Deanship of Graduate Studies and Research, which I'm talking about now, in addition to several directorates, centers, and units. Now, what within that Deanship of Students Affairs, Deanship of Graduate Studies, I'm talking about, I think I said Students Affairs, no, Deanship of Graduate Studies and Research. Within that Deanship, have been conducting so many workshops to support the researchers, be researchers, students, or academics, and to go in line with the national strategy here in Bahrain. And we have really, in addition to our normal activities, we have 4 categories, 4 groups focusing on these areas. And these are, the trend now: entrepreneurship, Islamic banking and finance, ICT, as well as community-based research. And we do sort of collaboration with different universities, regionally, locally, regionally, internationally, and as I said, all compliant with HEC regulations. Now, I will go with some of the milestones the Ahlia University has done so far. Of 5 years, we have over Scopus based or Scopus index, and we completed, or they completed 750 master dissertations and 41 doctoral theses. Ahlia is the incubator in there, and part of it contributing in the faculty as well. And this is run by Brunel University, UK. And research is one of the main contributors, of course, for the international ranking, QS, and so on. Now, the question which I put: who are the ECR then? Now, to our knowledge, to our experience, we are proud that the ECR, early career researchers, contributed well in that milestone. But who are they? Well, there's there's sort of debate and broad definition of that. I have just put this so we can put the outset of it. Any students, undergrads, postgrads, students, PhD holders up to 5 years, and it also could be reaching up to, can be under this category, depending on the level of their activeness in research. This is one of the definition I have found as really touchy. Now, what resources needed for early career researchers? It could have so many resources, but mainly, and this is very important, funding internally or externally. And my colleague said earlier, we have on our university also funding internally for the projects. and for the normal remuneration also. And this is very important for any researcher, be students or PhD students or academic. Well, we are supporting also, and this is a norm in any university. We are supporting the PhD students going, for PhD studies. Training opportunities is very important. So it's very important to really make these resources available. And supervisor, mentor, and senior researchers also will support the early career researchers. And of course, library database and search engines should be there, for the researchers really to go and really embark their researches. So this is, in terms of resources. In terms of skills, as I said, opportunity, we have, first of all, to identify and put appropriate training opportunities for the researchers. And this among the skills the researchers they need, so they can really thrive and they can be a star later on in their presentation, in their writing, and so on. And among these skills are, of course, research methods, presentation skills, data analysis skills, language skills in general. Now, some tips in here now. Any researcher should not really work in isolation. They really should follow sort of guidelines, be for the university or for the journal publishers. Postgraduate studies like master and PhD, as I said earlier, should find really the right supervisors who will really guide them. And after that, they have really to structure their thesis paper and do sort of proofreading and so on. Among all of this, researchers should really focus on their interests of research, not others' interests of research. And this is also, I'll put it just quickly for the sake of illustration, showing that the main steps of research started with the research problem and ending with maybe conclusion. But the most important thing in here, and my advice in here for the early career researcher, is to focus on clearly identifying the research problem and solution, which mainly comes later on in the research design and method. Now, more tips in here now. The researcher should really, when they want to really publish, they should know about open access versus non-open access journals, and each one has disadvantages. But for the quick citation, good. So they have to go really, especially nowadays, there is sort of accept open access journals. Networking is very important for the early researchers. Networking, it's like plugging in the research gate and so on. It's very important also to know about certain and main directories in research like ABS, ABDC, and so on, with the relevant and good journals. Now, SIMAGO came into the scene in the recent years, and SIMAGO also very good, very good for the ranking and empowered by Scopus data for citation and so on. And even our remuneration now is, this is part of our remuneration to consider SIMAGO. Also, in addition to the ranking, the early researcher really should index. And we have so many types of indexing in here, but I would focus on Scopus of Elsevier as well as ISI. And most of the time, ISI is part of Scopus, but Scopus, Scopus index and database is more broader than ISI and other indexing items as well. Now, when writing a paper, in general, I would really recommend, or we recommend for the researchers to write with a specific journal in mind, to save time and to have sort of high rate of acceptance. Of course, structuring and organizing the paper is very important. The first impression is very important. The presentation is very important. And to be very clear and focus on contribution. Now, contribution and originality is very important, especially for the higher ranked journals. Proofreading is very, very, very vital, especially when you are not, a native speaker or a native. So it's very important to have sort of, proofreading, others doing that, and, get feedback from colleagues. Sometimes you can get. So really, early researchers should really go and take that advantage and get, feedback so they can improve their paper. Submitting a paper, again, in here, choose a specific journal in mind. It's very important. And go and strictly follow journal guidelines. Journal guidelines, very important. And when you submit a paper, don't wait. Our recommendation to early researchers not to wait, but to start another activity, start another paper. And on all times to be with reviewers' feedback and not to get, not to get frustrated. Keep it on. It's very important to be patient and very important, to know the art of publishing and so on. It's very important to, and we have really to please in a way that professionally communicate well with the reviewers. And in worst cases, if things are, rejected, and this is normal, in our, research life, research environment, keep it on, improve it, and if possible, give it to another journal. Now, I think this is my last slide. My message at the end of this short presentation is to follow research ethics. Everything has ethics, and we have to follow the research ethics in terms of transparency and so on. Now, plagiarism is very important. Plagiarism now, it was, and now is more strictly. So any early researcher should take care of that and not to copy others people's work and put it, in his or her work. It would be sort of a problematic later on. Okay. And even, be careful when they rephrase of that, because, plagiarism, something is sort of unfavorable practice and will take you out of, and will bring problems to you. Avoid sort of predatory or fake publishers. Now, with the, with the proliferation of search engines and advancement of research, now it's easy for early researcher or even for ourselves of the publishers who are fake, who wants to know something or money, will ruin, will the trend of open access, because these are sort of
I think we're having slight technical issues with Professor Muneer there. I'm definitely struggling to hear anything. I don't know if anybody else is. I'm getting a nod from Anne, so I'm going to think that's where we're at. So I think just for now, maybe it's best, Peter, if we just move on to the next speaker, and then if anybody does have any questions for Professor Muneer, then we can come back to that at the end. But thank you very much for that great presentation.
Yes, also thank you from me for Professor Muneer's very interesting contribution. With let's say practical tips also for the early career researchers. And we're now stepping forward to the last presentation in this session. This will be given by Professor Anne Graham. She's the Associate Dean of Research, Faculty of Life Sciences within the University of Bradford. Please, Anne, start your contribution.
So I hope everyone can hear me okay? Yes? and can see my presentation?
I'm afraid not, and
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
There we go.
Let's
Can you
try
hear
that
me?
one more.
We
Let's
can
try
hear you
that.
now, Professor Muneer. We'll come back to you at the end if there's any more questions. And yes, we can see your presentation now, so feel free to begin. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. And I think that for us at Bradford, there are a lot of parallels with everything that has already been covered within the two earlier presentations. And it's really nice to meet colleagues again from both Hindustan and Bahrain, because 2 years ago since I was able to be in Chennai. So I wanted to focus on those early career researchers who are either PGRs or who are at the postdoctoral but not yet early career academic stage of their career. And in the UK, then there is a real move. It's very common for researchers after completion of their PhD to do some research, particularly in science and technology, before they secure an early career academic post. So sometimes those researchers can kind of fall a little bit through the cracks. And because of that, I wanted to focus very much on those early career researchers. So with postgraduate researchers, then there are quite clear training expectations when people are studying for a PhD. And there are also really clear support mechanisms for early career academics, like some of those that we've already heard of. But those individuals who may be working on a particular research project on a contract, a fixed term contract, can sometimes fall through the cracks in terms of their training and development. And for us, that's the last thing that we want to happen, because these are the research stars of tomorrow, and so we want to support them as well as we possibly can. And the reasons why that happens are multiple. Certainly in the UK, sometimes the contract length for a particular project might be relatively short, which means that the PI and the researcher themselves have to be incredibly focused to achieve the milestones on the project. In addition, how those researchers can then plug into networks at the institution can also be a little bit complicated, because it depends how up to date the mailing lists are, how often those mailing lists get updated, and how connected the PI, the principal investigator for the research project, is with what's going on wider with the early career researcher community. So while our postgraduate research supervisors have usually had significant amounts of training in supervising their PGR students, and they tend to work in teams, then there's not always that same obvious requirement for training if someone is a PI, had managed to secure some funding, and is therefore running a project. So the PGRs have got clear milestones that they have to hit to complete their PhD on time, and all the milestones for early career contract researchers tend to be focused around making sure that the project is a success, and that can sometimes be at the expense of the career development of that individual. So in the UK, then, so it's really important that conversations around career strategies and career development can go on with those researchers, as well as achieving the milestones of the project. So within the UK, there is a national organisation which is called VITAI, which is was set up dedicated to support early career researcher development. And higher education institutions in the UK can sign up to a researcher development concordat, which has been around for quite some time, but was relaunched in 2019. So many UK universities had signed up to the previous Concordat. However, recently this was relaunched to try to strengthen the commitment of institutions to their early career researchers. And so what that means is I chair the working group on that for Bradford. And what that means is that I'm responsible for working with other associate deans for research to develop an action plan which demonstrates and evidences how we support our early career researchers. And for me, at the bottom of this slide, one of the really important things which is helping me to develop that action plan is that we have to communicate with the early career researchers and collect their views on their experience as ECRs. And so the next couple of slides are going to say a little bit about what I've found so far. So one of the things that we have found is that while the training is very clear for our supervisory teams for PGRs, then the amount of training that the PIs have in line managing their own research staff teams can be quite different depending on the stage of their career that the principal investigator is. So for experienced academics, they've usually had a lot of experience of line management, but for those that may have won their first or second grant, then they may never have line managed someone before. And one of the skills that you need to develop is that ability to have the communications with the ECR around the level of support that you provide, but also their autonomy in succeeding on the research project. And we already heard about the importance of research group meetings and how important those are, but individual line management meetings, which allow those conversations around career development to occur, are also quite important. And as part of that, when line managing, we tend in the UK to have a regular annual conversation around performance development and development reviews. It's also really important, from what I found, that there is real transparency around developmental opportunities. So we may find that we have an early career researcher who may have really good publications and wants to apply for a fellowship. And so they need to know what opportunities are available in those areas. One of the other things that we have discovered from the discussions with our early career researchers are how important mentors are and the mentor relationship. So when an early career academic gets appointed in Bradford, they're always allocated a mentor, someone who can give them medium-term to long-term advice on the development of their career. But our early career researchers who are doing research projects tend to not or weren't allocated a mentor. So that's something that our early career researchers are really keen to have. So someone who's outside the project team that they can have those discussions with. There are many of our early career researchers want to become academics. That's their goal in life. But we know that only around 10% of postdoctoral researchers do end up securing academic posts. So sometimes our early career researchers may be looking at the opportunities for different career paths, and they may find those conversations a little bit challenging to have with their principal investigator and line manager who wants the project that they're working on to succeed. And I just wanted to make the point of, I would say that as an early career researcher and as an early career academic, I found real value in my mentor relationship with the academic that I was allocated when I first started as a new academic. And that developed into a lifelong friendship where actually that advice and support in terms of development was really, really important. And I mentor a number of early career researchers and some researchers who have asked for me to stay on as mentor, even although the formal length of the relationship is around 2 to 3 years in Bradford. So the other thing that we did a couple of years ago in our faculty was that we set up an early career staff forum, which was a combination for early career academics as well as early career researchers who may be working on contracts and looking to transition to become an early career academic. I deliberately chose an informal setting, so a couple of hours over a lunchtime where people could bring their lunch with them in the first instance, and then we got our dean to invest in us being able to provide lunch, which helped with attendance in terms of people coming along. And I used that as an opportunity to introduce the early career researchers and academics to some of the support mechanisms that are available from our Research and Innovation Services team, but also deliberately left enough time for those researchers to communicate with each other, to network with each other, and start to develop interdisciplinary relationships that might lead to new research developing in the future. So my very last thing that I was thinking of, and I'm looking right at Sonia here, is what are the ways in which the World Technology Universities Network can help to support our early career researchers? And I think that, you know, currently we're all stuck at home, unable to travel in the way that we normally would, but there may be some value in developing online discussion groups that could be discipline specific, and also encouraging our early career researchers that the exchange programs that the WTUN run could be really invaluable for researchers and setting up the networks that they need to be successful. And that was all.
Thank you, Anne, for this inspiring contribution. I think if everywhere in the world the ECRs are handled like in your university, it would be a very good situation. Yeah, it's really good, I think, and I like this contribution especially very much. So now we reached the point where we could start the discussion on all three presentations, and yeah, I cannot say I'm looking into the audience, but I look into the camera and should like to inspire the audience to put questions.
So if anybody has any questions, either feel free to raise your hand, or you can even write them in the chat if you want to direct them at any particular panelist or all of our panelists. Oh, and our first question is from a panelist. So Anne.
While people are having a second to think about it, I just wondered whether the situation in the UK, where it's very common for science and technology PhD graduates to do some research before they launch their academic career, if that is typical for other panel members and also for the countries in which the audience come from, if that is very common, or if that is a bit peculiar in relation to being very UK centric.
Professor Muneer, shall we start with you? Oh, we lost him. Dr. Nandakumar, how about you? Are you available to answer that one? Brilliant.
The situation what Professor Graham mentioned is similar in India. We also have early career researchers who do some research before joining academy. But there are certain people who are interested straight away in an academic career immediately after PhD. So they apply for the positions here, open positions here. And that's why I mentioned that in some cases we need to provide some training for these people, because they do not have any experience or teaching experience, even though they would have been in RA and all that. But they would have been helping out in the tutorials and things like that. So they don't have any real life teaching experience. So we provide some training for them in that sense. So I think the situations are similar both in UK and India. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Anybody with some more questions? We have lots of discussion time, and I know you've all.
May I ask myself a question? to our first speaker, Professor Menon. My question is, you spoke about carrying out research work with partner universities. What is the incentive for such collaboration? Does it does it depend on the institutional policy of your institution, or do you depend on, let's say, more personal relation of one researcher to the other in a partner university?
If I may answer?
No.
Yeah, we have this memorandum of understandings with certain universities, and the faculty members here are encouraged to develop contacts and relationships with professors working in the similar research areas in those universities. And then the university provides the funding for them to travel to that university and stay there for some time. It may not be a very long time, maybe 1 or 2 months or something, carry out a joint project and then come out with a good publication. So that is the incentive for the researcher, in the sense that he is exposed to a different work environment with maybe better facilities that are available, and more networking opportunities. He gets to meet more people in the same area of work, and for an early career researcher, that's very important. And that is why we consider it as an incentive to an ECR, as we call it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I can add to what my colleague said now.
Go ahead. I'm not quite sure
actually, even can you hear me? Because I was talking, I think I have some problems technically in here. Can you hear me now well?
Yes, Professor Muneer, we can definitely hear you now.
Yeah, we have sort of collaboration and memory of understanding and all of this with certain universities like George Washington, like Brunel, and so on. As I stated earlier, that we have sort of a program, PhD program here in Ahlia University. And this will really give us sort of, more positive environment to contribute in the research and to look after the students, and even, to communicate with colleagues there out in the Brunel University. This is one thing. And actually, in this part of the world, in GCC, the research is not has been really developed mainly recently, after during 5 or 7 years, the research has been active, and one of the active university in the GCC is Ahlia University. Now we have put sort of emeritus position for a researcher, for a professor to come in, and this is an addition to Ahlia University, where we can really utilize the senior input, the senior researchers, and put it in the research process, a research environment within Ahlia University. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of our delegates today? I know we've got quite a few people. We had some actual ECR sign up to this as well. So anybody else got any questions, or do our panelists have anything else that they would like to discuss? Does anybody have any questions for WTUN? And I know Anne started with some ideas there, but what is it that WTUN can do for you, your institutions, if they're members or considering being members? Yeah, I'd really like to hear from ECRs as well. Come on, who's going to be brave?
Well, we thank you really for this organization and for the lovely really plan whereby you can pool experts and people around the world to come together, and this is part of networking, be for senior researchers as well as early career research. And this is the beauty of the research, really to know the ideas and the practices around the world. So thank you for your organization and for your efforts. No, I was really saying something there, if somebody allow, because I was in my last slide and then disconnected, I think. And if you allow me just to put something in there for the early career, so just we are waiting for their questions, but this is a sort of a comment. I take this opportunity to really put certain items I have not mentioned. Actually, I was talking, but it was disconnected, and I did not know about it.
Yes, of course, Professor Muneer, if you'd like to finish off a couple of the points that you didn't get a chance to make.
In the last slide, I was talking about plagiarism, and the early career researchers should really take care not to really go in this practice, because this is not good practice and will really sort of put them in a problem. This is one thing. The other thing is predatory or fake publishers list is very important for early career researchers. If I am early career researchers and I don't have this knowledge and I don't know that there is something some is there for me to take care of and know, so I can avoid, I might go and publish in these fake journals, and then I will be depressed. This is very important for early career researchers not to really be in this trap. Also, we as senior researchers, we have not reached to this position in vacuum. We have reached to this position and we are still learning, and this is all our life is lifelong learning. We have come to this because we don't give up. If you give up, and so you will be out of it. So this is also very important. I was saying something there that for early career researchers should really build their knowledge, their skills, so they have solid ground like a house, or if you want to like a palace, so it will last for long. And my last message is really take care of yourself. Somebody will take care of you, because you are the promise of tomorrow's. That's it. That was in my email, and I hope that I have really been able to deliver this message.
Thank you very much.
Question, I am ready to.
Brilliant. So our very active panelist, Professor Anne Graham, which we love here at WTUC, would just like to follow on from a couple of the comments that you were making there, and has just asked, how do you communicate which are the best journals in each field, and who is fake, and therefore to avoid them? Should we go to Professor Muneer for that? Do you want to carry on with some advice there, and then maybe we can talk to some of our other panelists? Yeah.
It's very important when we say early careers. You are talking about early career researcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, in here, with the definition I have put, it could be a PhD holder with 5 years experience, or even 10 years experience with less research. But we have this in some of this in this part of the world. Now, if you go to Scopus database, you will find so many tips there. Among these tips, a list of predatory lists or fake publishers. So there, the career researchers, this is opportunity for you to go and really see that list and then avoid. Now, in terms of top journals, as I mentioned earlier, we have good directors as ABDC and ERA and BSA and so on. So in this case, you have really to ABS. And in this case, you have to really go and take the top journals. Now, top journals, if you are you need the support of the senior, but go with the average 3-star, 4-star. and try to have something which is to your area, and don't be very optimistic. Okay, be realistic, and then target a specific journal and send over your paper. This is in a brief.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Our chair has a question, I believe. I'd like to go over to Peter.
Yes, Sonia, thank you. I raised my hand electronically. Hopefully it worked. Yeah. Yes, it is a question to Professor Muneer. You told about skills being necessary for early career researchers. I should like to maybe add one, because I missed one, and what I missed was the ability to deal with uncertainty. I think this is a very, very important skill, yeah, and it comes quite near to what you just said about do not give up, yeah. The ability to deal with an uncertain situation, especially for experimentalists, I think is vital, yeah. Absolutely, and so it's just to add this to your list of skills, which without any doubt, yeah, are very, very important skills, yeah. You reported on, yeah.
This is true. This is true.
Thank you, Peter.
I would like also to add one more thing to what Professor Peter said. This researcher should have the experimental researcher should have the ability to deal with failure. It's a very important skill, because many times the experiment will fail, and you'll feel, you need to come out of it quickly and devise a new experiment and go back and try again. So along with uncertainty, you'll also need the skill to deal with failure. I think that is an important skill. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We have a question from one of our students, I believe, who I don't have a name for, but it is 201211018. You'll just need to unmute your microphone, and then you can address our panel, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
How can we approach to Germany universities, ma'am, for PG?
Sorry, can you just repeat that? I didn't quite get. Which one of our panelists would you like to ask that question to?
How can we approach for PG education in Germany, ma'am, universities?
PG education in German universities. I think I should probably hand that over to our chair, who is the rector of a German university, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, this is very diverse. It depends on of course, on which university. In some universities, we have graduate centers, institutionalized graduate centers, where we have some sort of more or less organized additional education given to PhD students. In other universities, we do not have this, and even some universities try to avoid this more or less formalized PhD education. And we say that we stick on individual PhD phase. It is very often, it is, let's say, avoided to have what we found in the Bologna process, to look upon the PhD education as the third phase of education after bachelor, master, and then PhD. Yeah, in Germany, I think most part of the universities think that it is not a third phase, but it is an individual process, and which needs to be supervised, of course, but if the same as we heard from one of our panelists already, there should be a balance between autonomous research and support. Yeah, support should not, let's say, be the main contribution. There should be support, but it should be a support to an autonomous process. I think this is the core point of PhD or PhD education in parentheses in the Germany. Yeah, it's very important to have a result, a real result, which is an original work with a new result, and the level of knowledge should be enhanced by this PhD thesis. Without a real enhancement of knowledge and original work, it's not what we would call a doctoral thesis or a PhD thesis. Yeah, I think this is the core point. Has it been the answer to your question? I don't know exactly.
I have.
Thank you, sir.
I am Dr. Baby Joseph from Hindustan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a suggestion. So the World Network, this is a very good platform.
Thank you.
But no, shall we also think in terms identifying a thrust areas in different universities of different countries, and then coming together so that we can come out with novel excellence. So to say, the synergy innovate excellence life. So if we identify some thrust areas, and then the people who are interested to join to that, those thrust areas coming together and working out new plans and carrying out research and bringing out some novel excellence, it will be good.
Fantastic. I think that's a really good idea. And I think one of the things that we really want to take away from the Congress this year is actually a whole batch of those new, fresh ideas that people have. So actually, if you're able to stick around for our development session today or even tomorrow and the day after, during our development sessions at this year's Congress, we will actually be opening the floor to anybody who has an elevator pitch or a short pitch of a project that they're working on, or maybe just an initial idea that they have. And if they would just like to pitch it to WTUN and its delegates and say, this is my idea, would anybody from any other member like to get involved? Obviously, it's a lot of pressure to come up with that on the spot. So if people don't want to necessarily speak over the next couple of days, we also always completely encourage any of those ideas to come into WTUN, centrally or through your board members, and then we will take it upon ourselves to share those ideas amongst our members and hopefully create some smaller networks and some smaller groups to aid with those projects. We try and enable those through our exchanges program as well, but we're always looking at opportunities for joint research and new synergies. So I think that's a really good idea. I encourage you to share our development sessions at the Congress, but also to just send that information to us, and we'll make sure that our members hear about it.
Yeah, I have a point if I can.
Of course, Professor Muneer.
I think we have good time now, huh?
Yes.
Anyhow, no, the point is regarding the networking. The networking is very important, as I said. Some of us, because of the routine thing, the networking is only within his or her colleague, which is good, but not enough. I think one of the good things in COVID-19 that it made us, all of us, go and do sort of more networking, and in other engines like ResearchGate and attending virtual conferences, Congress, and so on. So I think it's very to do networking. I remember networking 30 years ago was a bit difficult. Now networking should be easy because of the advancement in the technology. So I would really suggest for the early career researchers to take this advantage. And one more point I have, and this is in a question to the early career researchers. Are they really I will say it, are they really planning for promotion? Are you planning for promotion? If you are planning for, of course, the research as the science, as the knowledge is not only for promotion, but are you planning for the promotion? If the answer is yes, so you have to really go online with some of the tips we have given you. If the answer is no, still some of the tips you can take it just to survive. Thank you.
Good.
Brilliant. Very straightforward there. I'd just like to go back to Dr. Nandakumar if possible, and I just want to follow on from that student's question, and I guess pose, instead of Germany, what about India? What are the sort of niches or the things to look out for if you're looking to pursue postgraduate education in India?
The postgraduate education in India generally is, done through an entrance test, because we have too many applicants and too less seats. So there is a selection process, and that exam is called the Graduate Aptitude Test in Engineering. I'm talking about engineering in particular, and there is something similar for the science stream also. So based on the score that the candidate gets in that exam, the seat is allocated. So sometimes what happens is that the negative aspect of that is that the candidate or the student may not get the desired branch, because his score may not have been good enough to get him a seat in that, because it's first come first, totally based on merit. So whoever has a higher rank gets a higher demand seat. So sometimes that happens, but that is a system. You cannot do anything about it. So generally, it's like that. It's governed by this entrance test, which is, and you all would have heard about the entrance test for the IITs that we have. It's compared to be said to be one of the most brutal in the world. The gate is also along those lines. So it's very difficult to get a very good score in that because the competition is so high. You've got too many aspirants trying for too few seats. So that's the reason. So generally, postgraduate admissions are based on that. PhD, generally, we have an interview. We also have an entrance test, but that is not so. Each university is free to do its own entrance test. And then there's an interview where we try to evaluate the aptitude of the candidate for research programs and what is whether he has any idea for carrying out any particular topic or something like that. And based on the availability of the supervisor here and the research area that is open, we tend to select the candidates like that. So that's how we do it here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And I also just would like to ask a question to Professor Anne as well. And the question's about early career researcher networks. I know a little bit that Bradford has its own internal networks with its ECRs, but I suppose just a little bit more background about why it's important for ECRs to get involved in these networks and how they can benefit from them, both internally and also, nationally, as through something that WTUN could look at setting up in the future.
Certainly. So, internally, I think it can be good for building confidence. It can be good for enabling conversations to take place around, with people at a similar stage or at people at different stages to you around their experiences. And I think that we know from lots of published information from PGRs that postgraduate research study tends to be quite isolating. And so in a similar way, early career researchers can also end up feeling as if they are a slave to the bench and they're stuck there doing the research and they have to really focus on that. So sometimes it's pretty good to be able to have someone to understand that you're not the only person feeling like that. Wider, in terms of other networks, then a lot of the a lot of the learned societies, so things like the Biochemical Society, the British Pharmacology Society, lots of different regional or national societies have these early career forums that people can join, which again often, so I was at last year I went to the Federation of European Biochemical Societies, and it was held last year. It was in Poland, so I got to go to Krakow, which was very nice indeed. Nobody's traveling anywhere this year, but the day before the European meeting started, there was an early career meeting. So people could put their abstracts, submit their abstracts in poster or talks to this early career meeting in the first instance, meet lots of other early career researchers who were working on different aspects of biochemistry from all across Europe, and develop those relationships and networks that could end up leading to people that in the future you might want to invite them to your institution to do a seminar, or visit them to learn a new technique perhaps, because they have those things available. So taking those opportunities, I think, can be really beneficial.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Anne. Going to head back to our chair, Peter.
Yes. I think anyway, we have to face the fact that we have to do with very diverse young people. I mean, there is a group which is very independent and very active, yeah. But we say in the Germany, I don't know whether it's correct in English, you cannot carry a dog to hunt. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. If you cannot carry a dog to hunt, and there is a group of young people who will never reach this goal of a doctorate. Yeah, because they are not able to do it. And if I remember my own situation, I was so deeply involved in the research. I did completely lose my goal to have the doctorate. Yeah, I was just interested in research and in the matter. Yeah, I tried to find new compounds. Yeah, because I'm a chemist. Yeah, I did try to find new compounds one after the other. And then my supervisor came and said, "Peter, well, it's nice your work. I like your work, but please respect that you are working also for your doctorate. Yeah, when do you plan to come to an end and to write your thesis? Yeah." And I said, "Oh, might be the year after next year or so." I said, no, it will be in 2 months, and I expect from you to be ready at exactly this point. Yeah. So, and now at that time I was shocked. I said, "Oh God, yeah, and what does he do?" But now from my side, from now, I can say this was exactly the right moment. Yeah, and so the supervisor has a very big responsibility to look to his candidate and let's say speak with him in a very clear manner. Yeah? I think Anne mentioned it in her contribution. Yeah, that it's necessary to speak in a very clear manner to our candidates. Yeah, and yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Peter. So we've got about 5 minutes left in the session. So I suppose we have time for one more question if anybody's got anything else, or if we just have some closing remarks from our panelists, maybe with their #1 top tip or something like that. Anybody got any final questions or comments?
I have.
Yes.
If you don't mind, just commenting on or adding to what Professor said just now. I remember in my early stages of PhD, my professor used to say to me, "Well, Muneer, focus on your research and put whatever is relevant to your research." And because he took that message from his supervisor also, telling him, and my supervisor telling me, "If you are in doubt, take it out." So if you are in doubt of ideas, in doubt of writing something which is not supportive, take it out. So this is also good for the early research, especially the PhD. Focus, and if you are in doubt, take it out. Otherwise, it will be a problem for you. Thank you.
Brilliant. A very good motto. I like things that rhyme, so that's great. Any other closing remarks from our panelists at all? Yes, Anne?
So I think that Wahiba has their hand raised.
Oh,
I
okay.
can see. So you may have missed
Yes,
that one.
yes.
Sorry
Hello,
about
everybody.
that. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. This is Wahiba. I am from Arab Open University in Bahrain. This is a private university. I just want to mention something. I want to mention the importance of technology in research. The knowledge in technology for the researcher is very important. using the technology will help the researcher in all his research stages. Yani, for example, in the data collection, in the data analysis, and the documentation, setting resources. It is very important to know about technology. And for example, if you know how to conduct a research questionnaire by using SurveyMonkey, it will be very easy for you to distribute the research, to get feedback from the sample. And if you know how to use the technology to analyze your data, it will be very easy for you to analyze your data by by SurveyMonkey. You can do that. So just I want to comment about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a really, really great point and a really good tip for our students and ECRs who are on here today. And also, as the World Technology Universities Network, we always really like it when people say that technology is very important. So personally, I would like to say thank you very much for that. Anne, I think you've got a closing comment before we sign off this session.
So I think my closing comment for the early career researchers that are with us is be brave. So if you're at a conference or if you hear an inspiring talk by someone, they may be really, really famous, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Be brave and speak to that person, because the community wants to support our researchers and wants them to develop into the leaders of tomorrow. So there is no such thing as a stupid question. So from that perspective, you know, don't be too shy. You only regret things you don't do, not the things you do.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm just going to hand over to Professor Peter to close our session. But before we do all head off, I just want to remind everybody that we're just going to have a short break of about 15 minutes, and then we'll be moving into our showcase session, where today you'll have the opportunity to hear from one of our exchange recipients. So maybe if you're one of these ECRs who's thinking, what's this exchange program and how can I get involved? It would be really great if you could turn up to the next session, or even if you're one of the senior academics or managers on here, you can come and learn about what activities and provisions we have for you and your students. And then after that, we will be moving into a development session, which is a completely open session. So if you have further questions, maybe even from earlier in the day that you wanted to ask or make note of, then please do come along to that, and the floor will be open to anyone who's got new ideas, questions for WTUN, or any other comments. So thank you very much. I'm just going to hand over to Professor Peter to close this session, and then I'll see you all soon.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. I just like to thank all the panelists, of course, and all the other people from audience and the speakers who contributed to this session. I found it very inspiring, I must say. Yeah, and okay, thank all of you, and we will meet again in one of the following sessions, maybe also tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Bye bye for the moment.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. And remember, all of the links are on the WTUN website, and you can access all the sessions over the next few days from there. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks to Peter Scharff and also Sonia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. Bye now.
Nice monitoring.
Okay.